Hello, I am Teacher Candace and welcome back to my YouTube channel. And in this video, I'm going to be talking to you all about unit assessments and giving you my top tips for how to do these classes. So in VIPKID, we do two things. We teach lessons and we give tests. And these tests are called unit assessments. Sometimes you'll see them as UAs, and all that means is unit assessments. Now, one thing I do want to point out is I also have a website, teachercandace.com. On there, I have a blog post all about VIPKID jargon. So when you see all these abbreviations, CNY, SNS, TNS, UAs, that can be really confusing. And so I just put together a list of all these abbreviations and things, and it just explains those. So check that out. I'll put it in the description box. But in VIPKID, we have assessments. So every unit has two. So at the halfway point, they will have a test, and at the end, they will have a test. And so these classes are, a little different than a normal class. And I've had some of my referrals reach out to me asking, some advice on how to best teach these. So I compiled a list of some things that I find are really helpful, and I want to share that with you guys. The first thing to keep in mind that there are going to be a lot of slides. So don't let that scare you. It might show that there are like 50 slides, and that can be really terrifying because chances are you've completed your mock class. Most people do not complete all of their slides in their mock class. I'll tell you right now, as a mock class mentor, that rarely happened. And if it did, they were usually people who skipped material, and you don't want to do that. So pacing is hard. And so the class is still only 25 minutes, but you might have 45, 50 slides. And so that can be scary. But no, you can still do it in that time frame because a lot of those slides are super, super fast, like legit fast. Like I go level 1, click, next slide. Let's begin, click, next slide. Like some of them are seriously just seconds, like 5 seconds, and that's totally okay. So a lot of them are going to go by really, really quickly. Now, how most assessments are laid out is they take the student through a story or some sort of adventure. So in the beginning, you have your introduction where, hello, I am Teacher Candace. What's your name? Ask a rapport building question. Then there's usually 1 to 2 slides about the adventure. So it might say, Cindy wants to be a firefighter when she grows up. Her mother bought her toys, but she can't find them. Will you help her find her toys? Really simple. That's usually 1 to 2 slides. They say yes. And then there's usually a slide where they choose their character. Now, what I do is I have printouts of Meg and Mike. So I usually say, do you choose Meg or Mike? And then I get them to respond. Make sure they're saying it in a complete sentence because they probably won't. They'll probably just say Meg or Mike, but make them say it in a complete sentence. Now, one thing to keep in mind with these unit assessments, you still want to have some props. So I usually have these props. So let's say the girl chooses Meg. We'll go to the next slide, and that will be different levels. And so they go through, so Cindy's looking for her toys. Level 1 will be 1 toy. So then she'll answer all these questions. Woohoo, you got the toy. Level 2 will be another toy. A series of questions to answer, she gets the toy. So there will be slides that say level 1. What I do is I usually go level 1. And then click, next slide. It's super quick. And then the next slide says begin. And so I say, let's begin. Click, next slide, super fast. And then I do that for, level 2 and level 3. So I'm getting in some more props there really easily. Now, you're still going to want to incorporate the stars. Unless I don't usually add in a secondary reward system for the unit assessments. I suppose you could, but I always find that the stars are sufficient for the unit assessments. I do always include secondary reward in my classes, but if the class does not have a reward system slide in the unit assessment, I usually don't add another one. I'll just give them stars, and I usually give them after they complete each level. Most assessments have 4 to 6 levels. I would say most actually have 5 or 6. And so, I give them a star after they complete each level. If we run out of stars because they're 6, then usually I just give them a high five. Woohoo! And so that's what I do there. So I also do a dance to celebrate at the end. I usually go, woohoo! There's a slide that say, congratulations, you win. And I just repeat that and I go, do, 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 do. Yes, good job, Amy. High five. And I just try and make it a lot of fun because, they've worked hard. And so to just celebrate with them and have fun. Now, occasionally you'll get a student who will just buzz through that entire test because they're just rocking it. Maybe the unit was really easy for them and they'll just buzz through. And so then, you might be at the 20-minute mark, 15-minute mark. And so with these classes, you still want to pace yourself. Look at your time. If you're finding that the student is just going really, really fast, I might teach them some new vocabulary, like at the different levels where they earn the toys, we might review the names of those toys that they're earning. And I'm just trying to be intentional about asking some extension questions, providing some new things for them to learn so that we don't have too much time at the end, because you do not want to end the class early. Now, if I did some extension through and, we still have, 5 minutes left. Some things I will do is I like to practice spelling. And so there's usually a blank slide at the end of the class. And so I'll go to that blank slide and we will practice spelling the vocabulary words from that unit. Sometimes we might draw a picture that goes along with that. I'll ask them some of those target questions so they're getting more practice and review of things related to the tests. And so I try and make that, part of it so that it's really relevant to what they just learned. Now, occasionally you will have a student who is struggling really badly and is not prepared for the test. And it's been very rare that I've had that, and I've taught, over 4,000 classes. So that probably won't happen to you, but it has happened. There have been a few occasions where the student just didn't even get through all of it. And unfortunately, it is a timed test. And so, and if you run into IT issues that take up a lot of time, that can hurt their scores. What I would do in that case is I usually send a ticket to VIPKID and tell them what happened. They had these IT issues, and I recommend that they retake the test because I don't think it, properly evaluated their capabilities because of the IT issues. But for students who are just really struggling, I do the best I can to get through all of it, but I do correct them as they go. So, if they say something wrong, I do give them the correct answer and make sure they give it back to me correctly. And that's hard, but I always try to grade it accurately and fairly. Some people might be afraid to give a low score because they're afraid they're going to get some negative feedback. And I just say, just be honest with your feedback. I always give honest feedback. If there is a question, I will give my student the benefit of the doubt. So if they're right on the edge between, I think they should get full points or partial points, I usually just give them the benefit of the doubt and give them full points. But I do grade it as honestly as I can. There has been one time where I got some negative feedback of a student who did very poorly on a test, who I graded according to what I saw. And what happened is VIPKID reviewed that lesson and they invalidated that feedback. So what that means is VIPKID was like, you know what? That feedback was not accurate of how the class went. And so we're going to remove that from your rating score. And it says that it's invalidated. So VIPKID does not agree with, the rating that the parent gave you. But that usually doesn't happen. Most parents are really, they know if their kid's struggling or not. Now, one other thing that will happen is occasionally you will have a student sitting there and the parent sitting here, and the parent giving every single answer to the student. And I've seen this come up in forums. I've had this happen to me, and that can be hard because then it's like, how am I supposed to grade this? Because I know my student didn't know any of that, and the parents just fed them all of the answers. Now, as I said earlier, I believe in giving honest feedback. But how I feel about this situation is I grade the test according to what I hear the student say. So if the student says it to me correctly, even if the parent gave it to them, that's how I grade it. If the parent gives them the correct answer and they still say it wrong, then I grade it wrong. Now, I do that because the way I see it is these parents are paying for this class, and that mom or that dad knows exactly what they're doing. They know their child does not know this material, and they are choosing to feed all of the answers. And so that's just the way it is. And what I do is I just grade it as I hear it, and then I usually write in the feedback that I recommend that Timmy continues to practice answering the questions independently. Now, I'm not sure why parents do this. One thing I heard is that at one point, VIPKID, I believe they said some of these students are on a scholarship to take these classes. And so that scholarship is dependent upon how well they do in VIPKID. And so if they're bombing a lot of their classes, that might hurt their scholarship. And maybe that's why parents are doing it. I'm not sure. But it's supposed to, the way I see it is it's supposed to evaluate the student. And the most important person, I think, is the parent should know how their students are doing. And if they're doing that, they know very clearly how their students are doing. And so I would hope they would have the student retake the unit. And what you can do is you can write a message to VIPKID letting them know what happened and that you recommend that the student redoes that entire unit because they just aren't prepared to move on. So that happens. Hopefully it doesn't happen to you, but it might. Now, one other thing I recommend, a really great tip, is for a regular class, when you teach it, when you're done teaching, you hit the feedback button and write your feedback. With a unit assessment, what you'll want to do is before the class starts, hit the feedback button. Now, there'll be a button that says stick to the bottom. You're going to press that button. Then what's going to happen is you're going to have your classroom on top, and then on the bottom is going to be the test. And this is a way that you can grade the test as you teach it. This is going to save you a ton of time, and it's just a fantastic tool that VIPKID has given us. So I highly recommend that you do that as well. So yeah, those are my top tips for having a successful unit assessment lesson. Please comment below with your questions. I'm happy to answer them. And if you are still in the application process or you're thinking about becoming a VIPKID teacher, please use my referral link and application link below. You'll see I will just be here to answer all of your questions, help you get hired. I provide some props for you, mentoring, and I'm just totally invested in helping you be successful. So it would mean a lot to me. Please check out my Instagram account. Please check it out. I put some really great tips on there Monday through Friday about being a successful teacher. Be on the lookout for my future webinars. My first one is going to be VIPKID 101. I'm going to do one about your mock class and about getting bookings. And all of those are going to have a live Q&A where I can just answer your questions in real time. So thank you so much for coming to my channel, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.